Right, hello and welcome back to another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about Swansea City appointing Alan Sheehan as the manager on a permanent basis. So yeah, Swansea City have confirmed that Alan Sheehan will be our manager, permanently now. Obviously he's had, a long spell as an interim manager. He did obviously have another spell as well in between the sacking of Michael Duff and the appointment of Luke Williams. This is now his second spell in interim charge, but now we've given him the managerial role permanently, which I'm delighted about, to be honest with you. I think it's a really good decision by the club to do that. He's proved himself now. We've went on a really good run. I know we did win. We did lose our previous game to Millwall, but prior to that, we won 5 games on the bounce, 4 of those being clean sheets. I think we've kept, I want to say 6 clean sheets under him. I might be wrong, but it's round about that sort of number of clean sheets anyway. And yeah, I just think overall we've been playing a lot better under Alan Sheehan. At the start, when it was first announced that he was going to be interim manager until we decided to bring someone in, I was a bit sceptical. Obviously I thought it was the right decision at the time to keep him in interim charge, but never once did I think, oh yeah, he's going to be the permanent manager. And I think a lot of Swans fans would probably agreed as well, to be honest. Obviously it's a lot better than the performances under Williams. Personally, when we first got Alan Sheehan, I was thinking, is much really going to change? Obviously Sheehan worked alongside Williams, so part of me was a little bit like, well, if he's worked under Williams, how much of his sort of tactics and knowledge, how much of that was part of Williams' managerial spell as well. So I thought, is it really going to change that much, him from being the assistant to being the number one? But it has changed a lot, and I think this does just show how importantly, not only tactically, how different him and Williams' styles are, but also character and personnel as well. I think he's really managed to get the team fired up. They all seem like they want to play for each other again, play for the badge, play for the fans. So yeah, it's not just the tactical sort of differences between the two, but it's also the difference in personnel. As I said, the players all seem like they want to play for each other again. And you've seen these videos that the club have put up on YouTube recently, sort of behind the scenes. They did one for the Leeds one. I'm pretty sure they did one for Sunderland as well. And yeah, you've seen the way he talks. He's obviously very passionate about the club. He loves it here. So I think it's the right decision. And another thing is as well, I think it puts a lot of fans at ease, and gives us a bit of clarity knowing that manager role. We don't have to appoint anybody now. It's all sorted before the start of the season. Personally, I did want to have Sheehan rather than us go for somebody else, but obviously I would have rather just go for somebody else than not have a decision at all and it be dragged out throughout pre-season. But now that it's been sorted before the season ends, I think it gives myself and a lot of other fans that comfort of knowing that we don't have to look to buy to bring anybody else in. It's already sorted before the end of the season. We can just relax now. Obviously we got one more game against Oxford, but then we know that Sheehan will be with us next season, and I think it's very important that we've done that, because as I said, it gives the fans a lot of clarity. And not only that, but obviously he's been at the club as an assistant for such a long time, as well as obviously the first spell he had as interim, now the second spell, and he can sort of build on this second spell now, knowing that he's going to be taking charge at the start of next season. So I think he's had maybe 2 months now, 2-3 months since Luke Williams got the sack. So yeah, that on top of the pre-season, I think it gives him plenty of time to build for the new season, because we've seen managers in the past, they haven't had as much time as that. Obviously when we brought in Martin, he didn't have that much time to get ready before pre-season, similar to Michael Duff as well. I know Luke Williams was obviously brought in mid-season, but Sheehan's been brought in now as an interim role towards the end of the season, and now he's obviously going to be the number one as well before the new season begins. So I think it's very good for him to obviously try and get his ideas in and implement his sort of style and build on what he's already built here. And I think it might convince a lot of players who some of the fans might think would leave obviously due to performing well, and players such as Franco, maybe Lewis O'Brien might come back as well now. So I think, yeah, it does obviously convince players that have played under him to obviously want to stay there, buy into what he's doing. And I do think the Modric, obviously Modric buying a stake in the club has definitely helped. And I think, Sheehan can see that we've got a long-term plan, and, we definitely want to be aiming to go back into the Premier League. Obviously, it's not as easy as that just because we've, brought in someone who has put money into the club. It doesn't mean we're necessarily going to do that straight away. But I think this is just one of the many things that I think the club needed to do. Obviously, as I said, we got Modric in. We've now obviously appointed Sheehan permanently, so it'd be good if we can get a few more players over the line to sign new contracts, such as Harry Darlin, hopefully convince the likes of Franco to stay. All these little things add up, and I think, yeah, if we can bring in a few more players in the summer, then we're definitely heading in the right direction. But as I said, this is definitely one of the things that we needed to have done. But yeah, as I said, he's done an absolutely terrific role, if I'm being completely honest with you. He has turned it right round. We're starting to play really good football, and that's only in a short period of time. As I said, if he has all this pre-season with the players that he's currently got, as well as hopefully trying to bring more in. Obviously, we've got Melker Whittle as well, who'll be joining us in the summer. So, yeah, if obviously he's had all this time now, and he's tried to implement his style, and he's going to have even longer now to prepare for the new season. And I think things can only get better, really. It'd be nice to finish the season off with a win, but as I said, I'm just very, very glad that we've got this done and over the line before the end of the season. I think he really deserves it, if I'm honest, and I think a lot of the players will be really, really glad of that we've got it done, because as I said, he really does seem to love it here, and the players seem to really like playing under him. You can see the way he talks to the players pre-match, and how he comes across in his interviews. I think he's very honest, but yeah, he's also very sort of he knows how to get his players up, and I think maybe that's what we were missing under Williams. In all fairness, at the very start, Williams did do that. I think that was maybe just because obviously Michael Duff wasn't that sort of that type of manager to do that, and when Williams came in, it was obviously a new face. You got the new manager bounce, but then after a while, Williams maybe did lose the dressing room. It's obviously quite clear to see that something was definitely missing. And since Sheehan's come in, he's really sort of got the spirits back up between the players in the dressing room. And yeah, it's a shame now that Cardiff have gone down, because I think Sheehan would have really fired the boys up for games like that. So yeah, a bit unfortunate that there won't be a derby next season, but yeah, I think Sheehan can take us places. Obviously, it is only early days, so obviously things can go wrong with this after time. But from what I've seen over time, but from what I've seen so far, there's no reason to suggest why we shouldn't bring in Sheehan. And another thing is as well, I think when we've got someone who knows the club well, has been here for a long time, has worked with the players, I think it would be a bit silly to look to try and find somebody else when you've got somebody who already knows the club so well, because obviously we'd have to go out and pay more probably to bring somebody else in than somebody who already knows the club inside and out. And yeah, I think it would be a bit silly to try and look, especially the job that Sheehan's done. And at the end of the day, the last two appointments haven't gone to plan in Michael Duff and Luke Williams. So at the end of the day, it can't really get worse than that. But on the other hand as well, you kind of do want to get it right, because to get three appointments wrong in a row wouldn't be very good. It wouldn't be very successful. But as I did say, it can't be much worse than what happened under the two previous managers. So yeah, I think we've definitely done the right thing here, and only time will tell. So hopefully we have a very good start to next season, because we always seem to start pretty well and end pretty well. It's just that middle period of the season, and I think if we look to Christmas time and we're still doing a very, very good job, then yeah, I'll be very, very, very happy with that. But yeah, we just got to see what we can do in the summer now with bringing players in, convincing players to stay, and yeah, the performances and results will follow on from there. But yeah, overall, very, very pleased with this news, and yeah, I think at the moment Alan Sheehan is definitely the right man to take us forward. So I'm very, very glad that the club has made this decision. But yeah, once again, a massive thanks for watching this. I will be back on Friday night for my final match preview this season. which will be Oxford at home. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.